Hello, friend. Today we are having a chat with Angela Montoya, who is an amazing writer, and she's going to be talking about her debut book. So let's just hop into this interview. And if you're new here, I would love for you to subscribe. We love chatting about writing tips, and I also love doing interviews with authors, publishers, and others in the writing industry. So I hope to see you join in. Let's hop into the interview. Hey, so can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your writing, and your debut book?
Yeah, I'm Angela Montoya. I write young adult fantasy. It's just where I happen to fall into. I just love fantasy in general. And so young adult was like, I just kind of always knew that's what I wanted to write. And so I just randomly started writing one day. It kind of came out of nowhere, to be honest with you. Like I had just stopped working and we had just bought a house. So I was like in this weird transition of like, what do I do now? I'd
Sure.
always been doing something creative, but I was just like in this weird space. And my family, they're all writers in their
Oh,
own
cool.
way. And so, yeah, my partner was just like, well, your family is very creative. I know you love to read. Why don't you try and write something? And so that next night I opened, and I'm still using, it's actually his laptop. I don't even have a laptop.
Okay.
I just took his work laptop, and I've been writing ever since. And that was in I want to say early 2017.
Okay.
And
Wow.
yeah, I picked it up and I haven't stopped since.
Good. Oh my gosh, that is so exciting. That is just, I love that story, Angela. Thanks for sharing that. That's so cool.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
thanks.
And then your new book, your debut book, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's called Sinner's Isle, and it's a young adult fantasy as well. It's slated to be published in fall of 2023
Okay.
by Joy Revolution Books, and I just could not be any more excited and nervous, and just like,
I bet.
yeah, I'm all the things. Like, it's one thing almost like querying and like pitching your book
Yep.
and like trying to sell the book, but now knowing that now people are going to someday buy the book, it just adds this extra, not pressure necessarily, but I just want to make it as best as it can be.
Yep.
I don't want to like let anybody down. I just want it to be the best version of itself. And so that's what we're working on right now, is just revising it and
Oh,
getting it
big job.
readable. Yeah.
Right. That's sometimes I would say that's the biggest part of the job, the whole revision stuff. And
Yeah. Yeah. Like all the good stuff really happens in revision.
yep.
It's like you can plot and you can write and all that's beautiful, but like when you get down to the nuts and bolts of everything and like really think of your character arcs and just all the things
Right.
that go into it, and you're revising it over and over and over again. But it feels like each time, like a little bit more magic is sprinkled in there,
Mhm.
and so yeah, it's torture, but like in the very best way.
I totally get that because right now I'm in revisions too, and it's like, man, writing has you have to think about so much. You have to think about showing and not telling. You have to think about, okay, are they talking heads or are they not? Or, making sure everything works. So I completely get
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, no, you definitely do. And it's um at this point it's almost like I've read it so many times that I'm not even sure if it's like if it's
Right.
like
Right.
so I what I'm liking to do right now is I'll get through a revision
Okay.
and then I'll send it to somebody who's never read it and
Oh, good. Yep.
see like what their thoughts are, because I've read this dang thing so many times that
Yeah.
like yeah, I'm like skipping through things like, yeah, I know this is happening. Yeah, yeah, I
Right.
get it. So so that's where I'm at
Cool.
right now.
Yeah.
Is it's I'm hoping it's good.
Yeah.
But and I get good feedback back,
Right.
but I just know the dang thing so well none of it's a surprise anymore at
Oh
this
yeah.
point. So
Right.
that's where I'm at.
I totally get that. Yeah. And do you have your pitch ready for that at all? Like, could you share your pitch and everything so everyone can
Yeah.
hear that and everything?
I need to master the pitch, right?
Right.
I think it's something that never I'm never going to get right each time, and every time it's going to sound different. But
Right. I
but
get that.
basically, yeah, basically Sinner's Isle, um it it follows two different characters. So there's Rosalinda, who is she's a majestic, which is basically she is a woman that has these magical abilities, and all majestics have been exiled to this island in the middle of the ocean, in the middle of the sea, and it's called Sinner's Isle.
Mhm.
And so once a year, the king and his court will come, and they're able to basically like kind of like bind themselves to one special majestic, and they can bring that majestic home, and basically she will serve them using her powers, whatever it is.
Mhm.
And so Rosalinda has these powers that, if left in the wrong hands, can do such terrible things, right? Like there are these like shadows that she can bring out of her, and they will obey her and do anything. They could do great
Mm.
and they can do bad. And so in her mind, she's seeing these people coming, and she does not want these vicious powers to be released onto anybody. And so she is going to escape. That's
Mm.
her. She's getting out of there, whatever it takes, and she's going to do it. And she happens to find or happen upon our other main character, Mariano, who is a pirate, and
Cool.
he basically like washes ashore, and she finds a way to blackmail him into helping her.
Okay.
And so just all of these like wild things happen, and it's just a matter of will he, won't he. And it is a romance, so
Yep.
I think you can figure out what's going to happen. But yeah, so that's the basic premise of Sitter's Isle.
Cool. Yeah, it sounds beautiful. It sounds beautiful. So I'm excited to read it. It'll be super fun. So I'm excited for you. This is so exciting. Oh my word. I bet you're just like, I can't believe this is real life right now, right?
Yeah, no, it's been so, yes, I cannot believe it. It's one of those things where you hope and you work for it and you strive for this goal, and then it comes, and then you're still like, wait, what? It's when I first got into Pitch Wars, it was like that. And then when I first got an agent, and then selling the book, it's all of these different things that I've always like dreamed about. And
Yeah.
then when they come, it still doesn't feel real.
Oh, really? Yep.
It's one of those, it's just like this weird, like I'm almost numb because
Yep.
I'm so excited. It's
I
like
get that.
it's just like all these things are happening, and I just feel grateful, to be
Yeah.
honest with you, more than anything. Like, and grateful to everybody that's ever read anything I've written, or offered any advice, or helped me in any way. Like the community, the writing community has been like a lifeline. And
Mhm.
I really don't feel like this is like my victory or my win. I feel like it's everybody, because
Mm.
we all did this. you
That's
know?
so awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't me.
Oh, I love just your humbleness and your excitement for this book, and then also for the writing community. Because I swear, like, I think many writers wouldn't be where they are today without that community. And I love that.
Yeah, honestly, I would not to say I would have given up,
Yep.
but maybe, because there's some days, some weeks, some, setbacks where you're like, okay, I'm really not doing this for anything.
Yep.
Like
Yeah.
there's so many no's you get along the way.
Yeah.
And without your community to, pat your back and be like, no, this is good, like keep going. Definitely there would be times where I'd be like, eh, you know.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Okay,
What are your top favorite books of all time? I like to ask this question because it's different for every author and it's fun, right?
So fun. Honestly, and it's this, I don't reread books, it's not like, but if there is a movie or a retelling of the same story, I will read it every time. Pride and Prejudice is my go-to.
Mhm.
It's that angst, it's the miscommunication,
Yeah.
it's just the good. So yeah, I've read all sorts of retellings of Pride and Prejudice and watched every TV show or movie, anything that is involved with that sort of trope, like I will take it. So yeah, that's my go-to. And I'm trying to think like what else. I'm drawing a blank, but like for me growing up, these little like scary stories to tell in the dark and
Mm,
A Light in the Attic, those like weird, quirky sort of stories felt like home for
mm,
some reason. And maybe it's just because I have a weird, quirky personality, but I found those books, as a little kid, and I just like clung to them.
mm.
And so I still have them. I mean, I'm looking at one of them right now,
That's
actually. And so,
awesome.
I just have them. They just keep me happy.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I am so excited about that. I hear you because I liked those books as a kid too, and there's something different about them, right? And they made you just feel like magic and secrets and mysterious things were like realistic and real, and it made you feel like yeah, you could conquer the world.
Yes. And I just got chills because it feels almost like how I'm hoping Sinner's Isle comes off
Hmm.
as this, this place that's just full of secrets and all these things
Yep.
happening. And the world is this beautiful, glittery world, but with all these dark things happening underneath.
Yep.
So,
Oh, that's so
how about
cool.
you? What's your favorite book?
Oh man, oh my goodness, no one's ever asked me this one on live, right? Well, that's really cool. No, oh my goodness, let's see here. Well, of course, I loved like C.S. Lewis's Chronicles of Narnia. That was my favorite like series. I'll just count that as one, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely love that one. What else? I loved The Hobbit, of course, and I haven't read the other ones, but I'm working on it. And what else? Oh yeah, I loved Little Women. I don't know. Did you ever read
Uh,
that one?
yes, so
That
good.
was that's a cute one. Kind of like Pride and Prejudice, where it's like an old classic where you're just like, oh, I have a few
Yeah.
different versions of that, and yeah, I love it. What else? Oh my gosh, some newer ones. Well, I of course Harry Potter, and then I did like Lee Bardugo's books,
Oh,
Licorice
yes.
Averse. I'm probably over five already. I don't know. Oh, and then I really enjoyed my first murder mystery ever. I read The Guest List by
Oh,
Lucy Foley, I think is her name. Really good.
okay. I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to look that one up. Another one that just popped in my because when on the Leah Bardugo kind of like
Yep.
vein, um, oh, oh gosh, Daughter of Smoke and Bone.
Oh, okay. I've
It's
heard of it. I haven't
so,
read
oh
it.
my God, it's just so like it's something you just wouldn't expect.
Yep.
And like how do you it's so good. Her
It's on my
writing.
to read list, but it has a gorgeous cover. Like,
Yeah.
oh my word, gorgeous.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah. Oh, good. I'm gonna have to definitely get that and read it. Oh my goodness. But yeah, oh my gosh, I could talk books all
I
day,
know.
but I tell people I don't have enough books, as you can see. As always need to get more, right? Because it's an addiction. It's an
Hmm.
addiction.
It's a real problem, but in the
It
best
really is.
way.
But then again, is it?
Right? Yeah. The best
Right.
sort of problem.
Right. Exactly. Oh my gosh, I love that.
True.
Next question. What's your typical writing day look like?
So right now, since I'm in revisions, I'll just tell you that one. And I'm lucky because we're kind of in like a lull work wise. So
Okay.
like just like in my life,
Mhm.
right? So I'm able to like carve out more time in the day right now. So thank the Lord for that because otherwise I would not know what to do with myself.
Sure.
So I get up every morning at 5
Okay.
and I brew some coffee and I'll light a candle And then that's when I really try to get to work because it's really
Nice.
quiet. There's nobody up yet. Um, and so I have like about an hour and a half before I have to, get kids going,
Mhm.
ready for school. So then once they're off and running at school, I'll come back and work for another couple hours. And then I'll go out and feed animals, do that kind of stuff. Um, and then come back.
Okay.
So yeah, it feels like I want, as long as I wish I just could like have an entire few days, right, to just like focus on nothing else but writing.
Right.
But I have to just do it in chunks because that's how life is.
Okay.
And I just basically, whenever there is time, whenever nobody needs me, I'm on the computer.
Okay.
And I'm going, yeah. So I finished my first like major round or two. So now I'm going back and rereading the book out loud
Oh,
to
cool.
myself. So I really need to be alone because I sound and look ridiculous. So yeah, there's no coffee shop like sitting somewhere looking all cool because I'm sitting there reading it and with the face and the whole bit. So yeah, I have to be like nobody around.
Yeah.
I'll sit in the closet, whatever I have to do because I am a hot mess. Like I'm crying, I'm laughing, I'm the whole thing. So yeah.
That's awesome. That is
Yeah.
awesome. And where do you live? You live.
Uh, so I'm in Northern California
Oh, yeah.
and
Okay.
yeah, so we live on like a 5-acre little ranch.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
so we're country, but we're not, we're still close to town, thank
Yeah.
God. But yeah, it's quiet and it's nice.
Nice. Yeah, that's wonderful. I live in a very tiny town in North Dakota.
Oh,
But
okay.
it's pretty country here too.
Yeah.
But I grew up in the country, so I know how beautiful it is. And it's love it. I love it.
Yeah, like on nice days, and we're lucky we have really nice weather, but on nice days I'm outside
Yeah.
and just like feeling the sun and it just
Oh,
love
yeah,
it.
it's so nice. So nice. Yeah, and Northern California, beautiful country. Beautiful country.
Yeah, it is. And because a lot of people think when they think California, they think mostly Southern
Right.
California, which is beautiful in itself. It's, warm
Hmm.
beaches, different vibe. Northern California is a lot of country and
Yeah.
it's a different vibe. And so, um, you know, just a
Yeah.
little fun fact.
Yeah. And I love it. I love it. We were there, oh man, how many years ago was it? Like 6 years ago or something like that, driving up north to Oregon. We were traveling north to Oregon. So we went through there in a bunch of areas and it was just so beautiful. So
Yeah,
beautiful.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, awesome. Well, that's great. It's great to kind of get to know you a little bit more because I know I've followed you on Instagram for a while and it's always fun following you. So it's been
Oh,
nice chatting with you.
yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. And then let's see here. So how did your agent search go? And kind of like how did you find your agent? And did you get your dream agent or
So Sinner's Isle is not my first book I wrote. I wrote
okay.
another young adult fantasy, queried that for like a year. It didn't go anywhere. So that's when I decided to drop it for a little bit, like just let it rest. And then I wrote Sinner's Isle. And
Mhm.
so what was interesting for me is that I was in Pitch Wars, and at the end of Pitch Wars is the showcase. And
Mm.
basically agents can go on there and drop a little note and request stuff from you, request your book or a half, a full 50 pages, whatever. So at the end of Pitch Wars I had like 31 requests from
Wow.
agents. Yeah.
That's great.
I was so excited.
Hmm.
What's really kind of fun but weird with Pitch Wars is that it's not just you getting the requests, right? It's like multiple
Mm.
other writers, and so you're sending those requests along with so many other people. So
Yeah.
your work isn't necessarily getting looked at right away,
Mm.
or the agent has really only seen a tiny blurb of your book. They don't really know what it's about, what to expect. And so you might get no's right off the bat because
Mm.
they're like, oh, this isn't exactly what I was thinking it was going to be. So I got a lot of no's right off the bat. And I was like, fine, I don't want you anyway. But So I was getting a little impatient and I started cold querying a few other agents. Um, but like my main advice is to never query an agent that you wouldn't die for, right? That you
Mm,
wouldn't be so excited, because the chances are you might get an offer from the one that you
mm.
were like, I'll just query them anyway.
Yeah.
Um, so that's like my main advice. So I queried Larissa Melopankowski. I'd heard her on a podcast,
Mm.
the Manuscript Academy.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, so I had heard her before on the podcast and I just loved her. Like I loved her vibe. I loved how much it sounded like she cared for her clients.
Mm.
And so I sent her, I think she, like in her, um, on her website, because she works for Jill Grinberg-Lett, I think she asked for maybe 50 pages.
Oh, cool.
So I queried her and a few others, just cold querying.
Mhm.
And maybe about a week after, I got a first email from another agent, and they were like, "Hey, I just finished Sinner's Isle. I really loved it. Can we hop on a call?" And
Cool.
so I was just like, "Oh my gosh, oh my gosh!" And so I hopped on the call with one agent, and we talked about the idea for Sinner's Isle. We had this huge long chat, and I was like, "I love this person.
Mhm.
This is it." And then basically after you get that first offer, the right thing to do is to go to everybody you've queried that has your stuff
Mhm.
and say, "Hey, I've had an offer of rep. I'm letting you know in case you would like to offer as well.
Mm.
I'll give, like, I basically gave them like 2 weeks to make a choice."
Okay.
And I think 2 weeks is pretty standard. So almost maybe 2 days after that, another agent and I had a conversation, and she offered rep as well. And then a lot of agents that were from Pitch Wars, and they were pretty like, like big agents,
Mhm.
they basically like very politely stepped aside, mostly
Okay.
because they were just like, "We don't have time. Like I can't get to
Wow.
your work within 2 weeks." And
Wow.
so that's another thing to think about as well, is if there's somebody that you're like, "I'm desperate for," just know that if they are this super busy like agent, they might not be able to get to your stuff.
Mhm.
So basically the almost 2 weeks went by, and I was getting ready to, like, okay, on Monday I get to make the choice between these, two agents that I really like. And then that Friday before, Larissa emailed me, was like, "Hey, can you send me the rest of Sinner's Isle?" And so, or it might have been a few days before, because I want to say that, it was a few days before. So then that Friday, she called me and we chatted, like almost like out of the blue, was like, "Hey, can we talk?" And she was like, "I just finished Sinner's Isle. This is what I loved about it. This, and that. I love this character because of this and that." And we just vibed, like everything that I was hoping to get out of Sinner's Isle for people
Yep.
to understand, she picked up on. And so,
That's great.
yeah, so she reread it again and then sent me even more notes. And I was like, "Oh, she's it." And so she came in right at the last minute, and I was just so excited about her in particular. And
Mhm.
she was a dream agent. She was
Good.
somebody that I had heard about and loved, and I really like her agency. And so it was like a no-brainer to go
Mm.
with Larissa, because she got the story so good.
Yay. That
Yeah.
is so good. That's great. I'm so happy that you got your dream agent and that it turned out and that she's just been so good and you guys have worked together and vibed so well. That's wonderful.
Thank
Um,
you.
Such a good story. I love that.
Thank
That's
you. Yeah,
great.
no, she's fantastic. Honestly, I would recommend her to anybody. She's just a really great, kind person that
Yeah,
just kind of gets story.
that's awesome. So, would you recommend to someone that wants to get an agent, would you recommend that they do something like Pitch Wars? I think I had heard Pitch Wars is no more, right?
That is
Like,
correct.
that's so
Yeah, this
sad.
I know 2021 was their final year, or I guess well
Yeah.
2022, but yeah, after 10 years, I think it just became this huge thing,
Mhm.
and it's a completely volunteer run,
Sure.
program. So it's just so much.
Right.
But no, I also did author mentor match with my
Okay.
previous project, and I recommend mentorships to anybody because
Okay.
really there's something special about a person willing to read your stuff and
Mhm.
want to really work with you on getting it to where they think it could go,
Right.
and beta readers and critique partners are fantastic, and obviously you need them as well, but something about a mentorship and someone saying, hey, like, let's work on this together
Yep.
is so special.
That's
And
cool.
also the community around it, I think, is
Mm.
even better. So
Okay.
like some of my best writing friends are from Pitch Wars. I've bonded with people from Author Mentor Match, because it's this thing where you're all in the same like battlefield,
Mm.
right?
Yep.
You know that you're all trying for the same thing, and so we're kind of all in the same level. And so yeah, there's a thing to bond over. It's not
That's
just,
awesome.
you know what I mean? It's yeah. So it's
Perfect.
not a competition. It's not like I'm trying to be better than you. It's we're all working towards the same goal, and there's
Right.
plenty of space for everybody.
That's so cool. Yeah, that is just wonderful. I love that story of how you found your agent and also like working with Author Mentor Match. And like, I'm sure it was quite awesome. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
great. Perfect. And then let's see here. So, do you have any other advice, like for anyone that's like querying in the querying trench right now, advice or just kind of inspiration to encourage them to keep going?
Yeah, well, I just was just chatting with Zoraida Cordova, and not to like drop names, but like
Yeah,
my friend Melanie Schubert and I have like a little podcast, and so we
cool.
literally just interviewed her yesterday, and I kind of asked her the same question of just like, what would you tell a young Zoraida before the whole thing started?
Mhm.
And I really took it to heart because it's so true. Is basically she was saying like to calm down, like to
Mm.
not put so much pressure on yourself, and to like try to like quicken things
Yep.
so much, right? Because I know we all want this thing, but like sometimes if we push too hard, you're like giving yourself more heartache, and you're
Mm.
like damaging your own creativity more than what you deserve.
Yep.
And like for the first time I queried my first book, I wanted that thing so bad. I put so much pressure. I queried every agent I saw, and it just like it wasn't right. It
Mhm.
wasn't the right time. Not that it wasn't right, but it wasn't the right time, and I was almost forcing
Mhm.
this thing, and pushing and feeling this stress and this pressure, and really, if I maybe just sat back a little bit and waited, or let the project breathe a little bit, let myself breathe a little bit, and
Yep.
opened it up to the magic of story,
Mhm.
um, who knows where that could have gone, So I think, and just in publishing in general, querying takes forever.
Mhm.
Waiting on submission takes forever. Even once you sell your book, it takes forever. So it's like learning to be okay with waiting and being patient.
Yep.
It's because really it's just this mental game of, you're all these things are going through your head of, oh, what if this agent doesn't like this? Or what if they
Mhm.
say no? All this pressure. And sometimes you just got to learn how to release that,
Yep.
and just breathe. And so that to me, like I took it to heart because I am so like that. Like I'm such a worrier, and I focus on like all the negative. So if I
Mm.
just step back and just like, you know what? Like there's life beyond this. It's gonna be
Yep.
fine. And one of the books that I absolutely love and I recommend to everyone is Big Magic.
Oh, yeah.
And it really changed a lot of the way I thought about publishing and writing in general, and just to remember, why we write and the
Oh, yeah.
joy of writing. It's not so much about getting the book deal, it's about the experience of telling story.
Mm,
And that was a big game changer for me, honestly. It's not so much about, holding the book. it's
yeah,
about it's about the community and writing the book and this magic that happens. So yeah, that's my advice, is just to find the magic and to
cool.
rest in it a little bit.
That's wonderful. That is such good advice. So thank you for sharing that. That's
Yeah.
so good. Yeah. That's awesome. So you do a podcast then, like you
Yeah.
do a podcast. What's the podcast name?
It's called Of the Publishing Persuasion. And
Cool.
yeah, so it's just my friend Melanie Schubert and I. We met through Pitch Wars.
Okay.
And so the first few episodes, we were kind of interviewing different Pitch Wars friends and just like talking about that
Okay.
experience. And then a lot of them have book deals now. And so talking about that.
Oh, so
And
cool. I will go and check
yeah,
it out.
good. Yeah, no, we just interviewed Zoraida Cordova,
Cool.
Tobias Madden. He's an Australian author. His book comes out into the United States next
Oh, cool.
month. No, we have some other fun guests coming on. And yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
it'll be fun. Yeah, I think we're hoping to get my agent on there as well.
Oh, cool.
Just kind of like getting just perspectives on the publishing world from all
Yeah,
over. So yeah,
that is
it's
so
been fun.
great. I love it. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, so exciting. I just love chatting about all this stuff because it's just, I guess it's my geekdom. It's our geekdom, right? We love it,
It
right? That's what
is.
we do.
It's true. I honestly, like, I don't know what to talk about with regular people,
I
like with people
know,
outside of the writing community. I'm just like lost, because
right?
what else is there?
Right. My husband and I, one time, were hanging out with this one friend. She's not really a big reader, or not a writer either. So it's kind of funny because we're like, oh yeah, and that book we were and this book and because my husband loves audiobook and I love all formats, where I'm like ebook, book, audiobook, but we're talking about all these books that we read and stuff, and then it's hard to have those conversations, right? Where you're like,
It is. Yeah,
we have no, like, we're friends, but this does not compute.
it doesn't. They don't know. They don't get it. They never will.
Right?
And it's
Nothing against them,
unfortunate.
but
Yeah.
going on an adventure in a story would be a good thing. They'd enjoy it.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. Question yours. Oh yeah. I have a two-part question that I normally ask authors and people in the publishing world. So I'm going to ask you this question, the two-part question. So what's the most difficult thing for you as a writer and soon to be published author?
Yeah, I think for me, okay, so this is a double-edged sword, because I love social media. I
Yep.
love being on Instagram and TikTok. It's so fun.
Mhm.
However, it is a time suck, and it pulls from your creativity sometimes, because you can't like let your brain just stop and focus on the book. You want to see who's tagged you in something, or who's whatever it is, what's the
Sure.
funniest new thing. So the hardest part, honestly, is focus. Because if I am in a hard scene, it's so much easier to close the laptop and pick up my phone and just chat on Instagram, So for me, the hardest part is putting the phone away. And
Yeah.
I really want to work on it. However, I just love it so much. Like my friends are all online.
Yep.
And so I would feel so disconnected, but that's the biggest problem for me, to be honest
Right.
with you. Yeah.
I get you. I'm right there with you. I am
Yeah.
right there with you. The focus, I can sit down to read a book and I'm like, okay, I'm going to read. Yay, I'm going to read. And then I pick up my phone and I'm scrolling. And then it's like, wait a minute, where did time go? It's time for bed. I haven't read.
Yeah. I set some alarms on TikTok and Instagram for 45 minutes is like max.
That's smart.
However, I will just bypass that like every day.
Oh no.
Yeah. Because I'm like, how did 45 minutes happen? Like, how did that go by so fast?
Yeah.
I still have things I want to look on here. So I
Yeah.
need to get better about once that time reaches, like, okay, fine, no more.
Right. Right. Oh man,
It's
that is so
challenging.
funny. I
Yeah.
feel you though. It's a struggle.
It
That is so
is.
good. Okay, so what the second part of the two-part question is, what about the most precious thing as a writer? What is that thing that you just love so dearly about it?
I mean, of course, anytime anybody has anything nice to say about whatever I'm writing, if
Yep.
it's just like a funny line and they just put a ha on there, I'm like, yes, that's the
Yeah.
best.
Right.
So I think it's just maybe I like praise a little bit more than I realize, but it's those little moments like that where you're like, okay, I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
And what has been really special, and honestly, like I really started writing, well, especially young adult fantasy, like I said, because of my kids. Like I
Cool.
wanted to write characters that looked like them and that they could relate to. And so it was just a really cool full circle moment because the imprint is run by Nicola and David Yoon for
Mm.
Joy Revolution Books.
Oh
And
yeah.
Nicola has written Everything, Everything. The Sun is Also a Star.
Very good
Instructions
books.
for Dancing. Yeah, and it was really cool because I told my daughter, "Hey, I'm gonna hop on a Zoom call with Nicola Yoon, and do you know what she wrote?" And I was telling her about it, and she was just like just in awe because she has her books
Yeah,
in her room.
that's
She's
so
read
cool.
her books, she's seen the movies,
Mhm.
and so it was just cool because it was like I started writing kind of for her, and then to have it all come full circle where you know the person that she really loves and admires and has read her books is literally like face to face with me.
Oh, that's
And
so
yeah,
cool.
it
That's
was
so cool.
it was really just so like it made me like want to cry because I was
Right.
just like I like not that I did it, but it was just like I'm getting there,
Yep.
and yeah, it was a moment.
So powerful, it's just yeah, she's such a good writer, by the way. And such a good
Yeah.
writer. I have her
Yeah.
books too. It's so good. But that's so cool because like she's like looking up to her and stuff, and now you're working with her and like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, I have street cred now with my daughter. So
Yeah, that's so cool.
that's
Where can people find you and your book?
yeah. So Sinner's Isle is on Goodreads. So you could
Okay.
add it there. Just click that hit a little button there on Goodreads and you'll find it. You can follow me on there as well. And yeah, I'm on Instagram. I live on Instagram as I have admitted before. So you can find me at Angela Montoya Writes and on TikTok
Perfect.
as well, same handle. I'm on Twitter too, but like, you know, I'm on there, but not like really on
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So that's Montoya's Angel is on Twitter. But
Cool. Well, I will be sure to put all those in the description below so people can find you and add your book on Goodreads.
awesome.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for doing this interview. It was so much fun to chat with you face to face, virtually.
Yeah.